Hello everybody, this is Melvin, and welcome to the second part of PHP Basics with MySQL. In this part, we're going to be going over deleting and modifying records in a database. And picking up from where we left off, let's go ahead and open up our page. And what we left off with was basically just a page that listed all of our users in our database and a box to create a user. So what we're going to do is create a couple of links underneath each user to change and delete their information. And so those will both take us to a separate page, and from there we will eventually use this in creating a comment system, which I've seen on not only my channel but a lot of people's channels, asking people how to make a commenting system for their own site. So I will make a video on how to do that after I make this deleting and updating video. So without further ado, let's go get started with this. So let's just open up your favorite editor, and where we left off last time we had our create page, our connection page, and our just main page. So in this main page, what we're going to do is after each paragraph that we echoed out, we're just going to echo two links. So the ahref equals, and when you're using, say for example you wanted to put a quotation in here inside of an echo, you would have to escape it first with the /. There's a huge list of escapable characters, but we only need to worry about this quotation mark right now. And we will put here, we'll put modify.php ID equals, and then we will echo, we'll concatenate on person, and then the ID of the person. Then we need a / one of those, then we need to close that, and then we'll put modify user /a. I think that should work. Yep, there we go. So there's our modification link. We can just go in here and change this one below it and call it delete. Now if we go back to our page, you'll see we are, let's put a space in between those. Let's do echo ampersand to BSP. Actually, no, I'll just span. Alright, there we go. So we have the links to modifier user, which you can see down in the bottom, links to modify.php where the ID equals 1. And this one, modify.php where the ID equals 2. This is what we were talking about in the beginning of the other tutorial, using that ID to target a specific user for modification and deleting purposes. So let's go ahead and to our project, tutorials, MySQL tat. Let's make a new page, and we will create a PHP file, and we will call this modify.php. So in our modify.php file, we will do what we do on all the other ones. We will include our connection file, and then we will declare a couple of variables. Let's see, your name equals get. Let's see. Actually, no, we can't declare any variables yet. So let's just go ahead and start constructing the form. So up here, we're just going to include our file. Now below it, let's go back to our index page and copy this user creation form and paste it down here. I'm able to say you are modifying. Cannot spell today. highly doubt that's spelled correctly. So you set this, the action. This is a cool thing on PHP. We can create a PHP block and tell it to use itself as the action. So we can go echo server PHP underscore self. Now basically all this does is it tells it to basically use the current page we're on to process all the stuff. It saves us an HTTP request, so we don't have to load a whole other page, which is good for users. They like simple things without a whole lot of steps. Now we're going to leave all of this the same, and what it's going to do is just go through and load the information into these boxes, and from there we can change it, click update, and it sends it off to the database, and it comes back and says, okay, we've updated it. So in this value box, actually first up here we need to perform our query. We're going to say if submit, if post submit. So basically right here we're just saying if submit has not been posted, then if there's no submit value, which is the submit button right here, if this has not been clicked, then we're going to just go ahead and connect to the database, or select the info from the database. We're going to say queue, let's just start query, say select all from, what was our table name? Tuts2, and it was MySQL tut, wasn't it? There we go. People. Select all from people. Where ID equals, and we'll just say get, and we'll just say ID right there. We don't need to worry about the quotations. Now basically all we're saying is go to get means go to the URL and get any variables I've passed through the URL and display them here. So basically we're just saying select everything from the people database where the ID is 1 for, like for example here we see 1 for Bob. If you look down the top bottom left, we see 1 for Bob, 2 for Jeff, 3 for Melvin. Or wait, no. Yeah, 3 for Melvin. So we have that. And then we'll just say MySQL query, we'll just say Q. We also need to give that result. And then we'll say while, let's just say person, equals MySQL fetch array result. So right here we're just turning our result into an array that PHP can read. And then, actually no, we don't even need to do this time. We're only going to be getting 1, so we don't need to keep displaying data. So in this box right here, name, we want it to echo the current name value. So we're just going to say PHP. Right here we're going to say echo, and then we will put let's see, result. Actually no, first we do need to do that. We're going to say person equals MySQL underscore fetch array result. Spelled that right? Result. Okay. So we're just going to go in here and we're going to say we're going to echo the person array name in this box. And then we'll just copy this. We'll do the same for description. Let's go double check our database, make sure that's the right name. People. Yep, description, okay. So take note of these names. We have input name and input description. And let's just give this button a value of modify. Basically, just going to set the text on the button and say modify. So down here, we will say PHP, and we will say if is set, and in parentheses we will put post submit. Then go ahead and do the actual modification of the database. So in here, we're going to perform our update query. Alright, so we're going to set up a variable called u for update equals, in parentheses, we're going to put update people, and then we're going to tell it to set. Basically, we're just going to pass in our variables that we're going to set. We're going to set the name equal to, and then in quotation, single quotes, and then we'll just fill in the rest, and description equal to. Alright, so we'll set the name equal to post input name. That's the name of our input text box. And description will be post input DSC. And then we'll just tell it where ID equals post ID. Okay, so this post ID part right here, this is kind of a little bit important. We don't have anything that's telling it, hey, here's an ID. See, we just have input name and description. So we're going to use something called a hidden variable. So we're going to put input type equals hidden, and we'll give it a name of ID. It's going to have a value of get. Don't forget the PHP block. I'm going to give it a value of get, and we'll tell it to get the ID variable from the URL. So we're just going into the URL of the page, getting the ID variable that we passed in, and saying put this as this hidden variable so we can pass it into our new query. Now we're just going to say MySQL query u, and then actually we'll put or die MySQL error, and then if it's a success, we will echo user has been modified, and then we will relocate them to where they belong. Let's say location. It's just location. No, it's like index.php. Alrighty, so if it is done successfully, it will output this, and if it fails, it will output error. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out. Actually, first we need to say else, and basically it's saying if it isn't gotten, then just do nothing. Actually, no, we need to echo please fill out form. We'll just copy this redirect. Okay, so basically this else statement is basically saying if the form has not been submitted, it will redirect us to the just regular old creation page. So we're just going to change that to modify.php. Actually, no, index.php is right. Yeah, so we're just going to reject them from the home page, and then they'll click on modify. This is just in case they got sent here on accident. And then, it looks like everything's working correctly. Let's go ahead and try it out. So we'll click modify user. Oh, what happened? It's not taking us to the page. Oh, you know what? Yeah, we need to get rid of this else statement, because when we get to the page, the variable submit is not defined, so it's always just going to take us back to the index.php. Is just going to be a loop. And up here, we also forgot to put the is set, so we're just going to say if exclamation part is set, and we'll put this post variable in parentheses right here. And then we'll save it. Try it again. Modify user. Okay, so it says you are modifying a user. The name is Bob, and Bob is a cool guy that lives in Arizona and likes iced tea. So let's just say he lives in, let's say he moved to Texas. And he likes to be called Bobby now. So we modify. Oh, now we have a MySQL error near here. Let's see. Near line 1. This has happened a couple times. Alrighty, I found the errors. There was a few ones up here in the hidden variable. Basically, the value it's still non-existent. All this is doing is just saying, hey, there's a variable. So we need to tell it to echo that. And then down here in our query, we need to tell it. We need to put these backticks around all of our set variables. Like we're going to set the description of the database. We need these backticks, which is right next to the 1 on the top row of the number keys. And then if we do all that correctly, save it, and go to modify Bob, and it's a lot of B's. Bobby, we can change it to he lives in Texas. Modify. So we can go to the home page and we see the name is now Bobby. All good. So now that our modified table is done, we're going to go ahead and close out of that and go to our index page. And the last one we have is our delete. So let's go ahead and create a new page. PHP file. We'll call it delete.php. And we'll just copy over our create page since it's pretty much going to be the same. We can get rid of all this. We don't even need... All we really need is the query. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we are just going to edit this query right here. We're going to leave the or die to say delete from, and we'll put people where ID equals, and we'll tell it to use get ID. And then we will say user has been deleted. That's how simple it is to delete a user. So let's give this a refresh, and let's say Jeffers is getting on our nerves. We can delete him, and he is gone. So there we have got it. We have gotten a fully functional, well, it's not really anything. It's just a page where we can create a user named George lives in Alabama. Makes great French toast. Submit query. And there we go, we have a user named George, yeah. And we can also do stuff like modifying the user and delete it. So, I hope you guys found this tutorial useful. If you like the videos and all my other videos, please rate this one, comment, and subscribe over to the right. And I will see you guys in the next video.